Day 6 of the Blast Fall groups has come and gone, the penultimate day of competition where we saw all 4 group finals play out. That means the first 4 teams guaranteed to make the fall finals have been decided. And for those who fell short, don't worry, they have a last chance tomorrow to make it to the main event. Even then, if you lose tomorrow, guess what? You get one final chance at the showdown to be held a few weeks from now. Today, we had an explosive matchup between Team Spirit and Complexity, followed up by Vitality taking on Astralis in a grudge match, G2 taking on the upstart Ninjas in Pajamas, and we concluded with a rematch of one of the biggest upsets of the tournament so far, Team Liquid taking on Navi once again. If you missed out on the intense action live, don't worry, you are in the #1 place for your same day tournament recaps. It's what I do it for you guys, so sit down, relax. And before we get started, I have a special announcement. Today, instead of my usual plugs, I just want to say thank you to you guys for supporting me so much on the channel recently. I am recording this commentary standing behind my new sit-stand desk that I was able to afford thanks to my very first YouTube payout. And I would not have been able to do that without you guys constantly supporting, liking, commenting, and watching all of the videos. We've just passed 1,900 subscribers, and it feels like just yesterday we hit our first 1,000. The channel is doing very well. You guys really enjoy the content, and the feedback that I get from you guys is so helpful and so gratifying because I'm really happy that you guys enjoy what I do here. Anyways, once again, thank you from the bottom of my heart. You guys mean the world to me. And with that, let's go ahead and get started with today's commentary. And we are kicking it off with by far one of the most interesting matchups I've seen in a tournament in a while, and that's Complexity taking on Team Spirit. Now, on the face of it, I think most people expected Spirit to run Complexity over, but these teams are actually very similar, especially in the context of the team's 2 best players. Donk and Bubblesj could not be more paralleled in terms of playstyles. They're both hyper-aggressive, insanely skilled mechanical riflers who will do anything to push for an advantage in a round on CT or T side, and when they are on and fully activated, they're some of the most unstoppable players in the world. Now, I've talked a lot about Bubblesj in my recent videos, so I'm not going to harp on it too much. I want to focus on Donk for a second, because honestly, I'm getting really sick of this continued narrative where people are still doubting whether Donk is one of the very best players in the world or not, because I don't know what games you guys are watching. The eye test for Donk is one of the best I have ever seen, and I'm just going to go out and say it. I have not seen a player with more raw mechanical skill in a server playing Counter-Strike since Simple first burst down to the scene. Donk is that good. Not only is he a freak of nature at the base game, rifles, pistols, submachine guns, whatever, in this series, Donk even busted out the op on Dust 2 and did really well with it. And at that point, it's just starting to get unfair. The police might have to get involved, because frankly, it should be illegal to be this good at everything in the game. Donk isn't just transcendently good at this point, he's the main character sometimes. And even his underperformances are sometimes other players' best games. That is scary, dude. Look no further than the second half pistol round on Dust 2. Donk with the dual Berettas on site. I am at a loss for words. Me, the eternal yapper, I am at a loss for words because what are these shots, dude? Nobody else in the world does this. And when you look at the scoreboard in this first game, you see Donk with over 30 kills, Shiro with over 30 kills, insane clutches, heartbreaking rounds that should break the back of Complexity, and then you look at the scoreline and realize Complexity won this game. That is incredible. And they did it despite having some horrific blunders down the stretch. They're going to be keeping me up at night, so I can only imagine what Complexity must be going through right now with the context of how the series turned out. Stuff like blowing the final match point being sent to overtime against echoing Spirit players, Shiro and Magix winning a 2v5 in overtime that nearly broke the backs of Complexity. Just rounds like that kept the door open for Spirit, and I'm really just shocked that Complexity held their poise and didn't crumble under that pressure. Specifically in the overtime. Complexity and Spirit trade rounds back and forth, but Complexity is able to reach match point first in the first overtime, their second chance to close out the game, and then that 2v5 clutch happens. Shiro goes absolutely sicko mode with the op, on platform, on the A site, hits insane flicks, gets the triple kill, and crushes Complexity in the post plant, a round they never should have been able to win. And at that point, we're entering the second overtime. Shiro and Donk both have over 30 kills. Complexity just got their spirits destroyed, no pun intended. I really didn't think they were going to be able to do anything. And then LionHeartZ, like the Giga Chad he is, just walks up mid on the first round, goes fast cat, pushes all the way to barrels into T-spawn, and gives it right to Spirit, shuts them down. But of course, because it's complexity, the round still comes down to a 1vx that they nearly lose, but just the confidence of LionHeartZ to strike right out and go straight at them was insane. Complexity would convert all 3 of their CT rounds, which put them in the fantastic position of only needing to win 1 T round on Dust 2 to close out this game. Spirit takes the first round of the second half, but Complexity wins it right after. Complexity beats Spirit 19-16 on the first map to go 1-0 in the series. And after such a great team performance, I was full on. I was huffing the hopium, guys. I was so in. I thought we were going to be able to sit here and talk about Complexity taking down Spirit, the massive NA upset. And then we pull up to Anubis. Complexity wins the pistol round. The momentum's continuing, baby. It's time to go on a run. They're on T-side Anubis, one of the most dominant halves in the game. They get to the second round. They deny Spirit the opportunity to win the save. They get the bomb plant on A. It looks like everything's going to be fine. And why are all 5 Spirit players pushing on A? Complexity, why are you running away? There's still time left. They have a kid. What are you doing? Why are you walking away from the bomb? Oh my god, they're getting the ninja defuse. I can't believe it. Complexity lose the second round in heartbreaking fashion. A 5v5 post plant into ninja defuse loss. I have seen this maybe like twice at the pro level, and I've been watching Counter-Strike a very long time, and after this point, you can see it. Complexity are so tilted. There's 2 long tech pauses during this half, and Complexity are so checked out. They only get 4 rounds on one of the most lopsided sides in Counter-Strike, and once we swap over, Spirit, they're flying high. Everyone on Complexity is missing. The fragging, it's gone. The coordination, it's shot. Everybody is just waiting for map 3, and Spirit, they close it out. They win Anubis 13-6 before you can even blink. Now, it's important to note that the map pool was super not in Complexity's favor in this matchup. Spirit are nearly undefeated on maps like Anubis and Nuke lately, and going into this final map decider, Complexity had a hill to climb. They're not that great of a Nuke team, and despite that, they open up the CT half, they hold Spirit to just 5 T rounds. It looks like we're back in, everyone's locked in, we're not tilted, we're focused, we're playing together. The only person who's not having a good game is fucking LionHeartZ. I can't believe it. Right when we needed him most, he disappeared like the Avatar, man. And despite all of that, Complexity are leading this game. We swap sides. They get on their TF. They win pistol, and the next round, they lose the first gun round to Spirit, then fight back with a heroic win right after. It's a 10-6 lead. You're so close. You're tasting victory. And then Spirit go on to win 7 consecutive heartbreaking rounds, and there were so many small mistakes that buried Complexity. Shiro getting a miracle clutch on the A bomb site when all Complexity had to do was just wait out the timer. He gets the defuse, like a sub 1 second defuse. Add on to that some bad economy management earlier in the rounds, Chopper getting a huge 4K on saving Complexity at ramp. The Shiro clutch puts them to match point. Complexity, they're out of it. They look punch drunk. They just took a massive right hook from Spirit, and they just can't bring themselves to close out this game. Spirit come from behind on Nuke to win 13-10, behind in the series to close it out 2-1. And man, it sucks that Complexity couldn't close it out, but what an exciting series. This had a little bit of everything. Donk was so transcendent. Shiro right behind him. LionHeartZ had his impact. All of Complexity looked good at various moments, but so many mistakes added up. You can't leave the door open against such a good team, and they got punished for it. God damn it, this is going to be another super long video, but man, there was just so much good Counter-Strike today, dude. I know this is probably obvious to most of you, but I love this shit. I love Counter-Strike so much. It's so entertaining. Speaking of, we're pulling up to Vitality taking on Astralis, and this was another banger series. It goes 3 maps. It goes the distance on all 3 maps. A super close series, and the highlight for me right away, ZywOo was the top player in all 3 games. Unambiguously so. He drops almost 70 kills for the series. He's over 20 frags on every single map, and that's what you want to see from Vitality. I'm sorry, ZywOo has to be this guy every time. That's what this team demands of him, and anytime he doesn't put this kind of output, the team is not the same. We're getting started on Vertigo, which is an interesting concession from both teams because neither of them play it hardly at all. They only have a handful of appearances in the last few months total. And from a map pool perspective, it definitely makes sense. They have a huge overlap in terms of their most common maps. Both of these teams love to play Dust 2, Mirage, Inferno, and Nuke. And when you consider that Vitality likes to permaban Ancient, Astralis likes to permaban Anubis, the leftover map that they could both play is Vertigo, so it makes sense for them to both take a risk here. Getting into it, on the first half, I really liked how Astralis played the T side here. They were really good at taking positive space. They would get a lot of room towards A ramp. They would sometimes find a pick there and either push and commit to the A side take, but they were more than willing to get the pick A, get that gun off the table from Vitality, and then quick rotate to B, take side control there. Both Stayer and Stown had individual moments lurking through mid that were really good in these situations. Round 10 is a great example of this, where they get the pick on ramp, quick rotate to B, they're able to get the bomb down, they're taking the picks around the margins, they absorb a great multi-kill from ZywOo into a 2v2, they end up winning out the round, good stuff there. Vitality definitely struggled in the fragging output on this first half. They were unable to close out a lot of rounds despite ZywOo having a great opening half with 14 kills, while everyone else was slow starting. We swap halves though, and Vitality go on a nice T run of themselves. They win the first 5 of 6 rounds, they're playing very fast, very pacey. Both Spinks and Mezzy have much better T halves to bring some momentum back and take some of the burden off of ZywOo's shoulders, and Vitality would take that momentum and run it all the way into their own lead, all the way to a 10-8 scoreline, before Astralis woke up on the CT side and shut the game out, winning the next 5 rounds straight, including 3 post-plant retakes, which is incredible. Vitality was more than capable of winning those rounds, but couldn't clutch it out, and that's the difference maker. Sometimes it really is that simple. I'm no expert at math, but if they win 3 of their post plants, they win the game. Instead, Astralis takes them away, they go up 1-0 in the series, and we're moving on to the next map, Mirage. Mirage is super interesting because it's the tale of 2 halves, really. Astralis started out with a 7-0 run where they were completely shutting down Vitality, no room for them to work map control, no room for ZywOo to get impact, and it looked like Astralis might be running them over completely. Up until round 8, we're finally able to get a complete full buy, op on ZywOo, everything you could need. Vitality finally make their move. They do very well to take mid control early into the round. The pacing grinds to a halt as neither team wants to give up mid control or make the push through cat or through connector. Things start to wind down. Mezzy gets the spot that one's playing close to A main and he falls back, while ZywOo and Flames rotate to set up the A split. It looks like things might start to fall apart though. Apex goes down. Not long after, Flames gets caught out in A main, he doesn't check his corner. Stown's in a great position, nearly gets the double kill on ZywOo. ZywOo hits a great shot with the op in return, Spinks gets a jumping AK pick in mid, and now, a round that looked to be completely going Astralis' way quickly falls apart as all the Vitality players swarm into the site, get the picks, and close the round out, finally on the board. Off the back of this, the momentum kicks in, Vitality wins out the rest of the half, 5 straight rounds, to essentially erase the deficit they fell into so early on. And from here, it's a classic, vintage Vitality CT defense on Mirage. Mid control, locked down, ZywOo, locked in. Combined with their streak to end the first half, they win 9 straight rounds, before having a little back and forth affair with Astralis banting some economic control, but in the end, Vitality were overwhelming. They win 8 rounds of their CT half, flipping the script, winning out the map 13-10, and we're going to a nuke decider. And on initial glance, I think this nuke game could have been very interesting. A 5-7 opening half, Astralis have great moments on the CT side, controlling Vitality's momentum. Astralis are just out here playing perfect team Counter-Strike. Literally every single player gets 10 kills on this opening half. That kind of spread is unheard of. Everyone's involved, everyone's engaged, and everyone's doing their job, and that's why they were able to have the lead going into the second half. Unfortunately, there was just a brick wall named Vitality on the other side. And it wasn't even like ZywOo had some transcendent second half himself. He only had 10 kills on the CT side, but that allowed Vitality to win every single round on the CT side half. 8-0, game over, series over, in a blink. I honestly don't really know what happened. It's like all of the Astralis players just forgot how to click heads. They end the second half of play with a combined 7 kills. 7 kills total. Literally, that is insane for how close this series was to this point. A complete one-sided stomping by Vitality to win the series, make it through to the Blast Fall Finals. For Astralis, they move on to the second place match tomorrow on Sunday. They've still looked good in this tournament, so I don't really think this is that bad of a sign for them. It's just weird that this final map was so lopsided because I think the series was really exciting up until this point. Speaking of lopsided, we have G2 taking on NIP for our next matchup. The Ninjas coming off of that insane upset against FaZe yesterday, riding high. I think many people expected them to actually have a decent shot in this series because of that, but unfortunately, this was the comeback to earth game for everybody. Neither of these games felt particularly close. Ancient is 13-7 in favor of G2, Inferno is 13-8 in their favor as well. Players like Wrinkle and Rez, who were so transcendent against FaZe, were utterly pedestrian here. I don't think this says much about NIP. This is a very young, very new roster, and they ran into a brick wall. It's simple as that. Frankly, this was the series you would have expected from them against FaZe yesterday, so it's just not that surprising of an outcome. In terms of like what went well for G2, it was the usual G2 formula. Monacy was great, Nico had impact, Malbs had a great series, Hunter was involved, active, getting kills, and Snacks was able to work around the margins, and they called a good strategic game. It's as simple as that. And part of me is glad this series was mercifully short because the games have been very long today, and we're about to get into the longest series of them all, and that's the heated rematch between Team Liquid and Navi. And obviously, it's my job to hype things up. I speak in hyperbole deliberately because that's how you get clicks. That's just part of the game. Don't hate me, hate the process. However, this is one of those rare instances where I'm not kidding. This was an insanely entertaining best of 3. Easily one of the top series of the year. And please, do me a favor, stop the video right now. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff first, obviously. Go watch the highlights. You deserve to watch this game unabated, separated from my analysis first, and then come back because it's a nail biter. It's intense. It had me on the edge of my seat. We got to see a little bit of everything from both of these teams. And honestly, the only bad thing I can say about it is that it wasn't a best of 5 or more because I could watch these two teams throw down all day. For Navi, I think the big storyline of this game was that they were dominant to open up every single half of all 3 games. They were in the lead going deep into the second half on every single map, and despite that, Liquid would go on a second half run in all 3 maps, and only on Nuke, our opener, did they fail to complete such a comeback. Which has to be devastating for the Navi players, because you were in control, you could see victory on the horizon, and on the back 2 maps, Liquid ripped it away from you right underneath your noses. In terms of the individuals, the best part about this series is that every single player that you would want to have impact on both teams stepped up in their own way. The kill spreads for both teams are on screen right now, and you can see how insanely even they are. The only outlier is Alexi B, and he gets that pass because he's not a fragging in-game leader. But even then, he still had his chances. He had moments where he had great rounds. Everyone else ate when they needed to, had huge individual moments. And it felt like every single round had the potential to be a powder keg because you weren't sure who was going to pop off next. In terms of map analysis, I'm going to be honest, I have the least to say about Nuke. It was a 10-2 opening half for Navi on the CT side. They didn't allow Liquid to really do anything. No takes were successful. They were shutting them down at every turn. Navi are just so good at playing around outside and making sure that outside control doesn't mean their A side is open to an upper push. They're just really good at denying T side map control, and that's why they were so dominant here. Like I said, Liquid did manage to mount a comeback. They win their CT pistol round, run off a string of 5 rounds before Navi can even get around on the board. The problem is, a 10-2 deficit, even on some of the oldest versions of Nuke, is still such a hard comeback to make happen. Navi managed to find the 3 rounds that they need. They go up with an early 1-0 lead, and with that, we really start cooking with gas on Anubis. Which ended up being a wild overtime affair, a 16-14 victory for Liquid that came down to the very wire. Down the stretch, these rounds were back and forth. The smallest errors in decision making were leading to rounds going either way all over the place. Leading the way for Liquid down the stretch was Naf, who was just a stone cold killer in this game and on Inferno. Naf at one point during the second half only had 10 kills. He ended the map with 29. Navi just didn't seem to have an answer for him lurking towards A. He would get ridiculous multi-kills on low-buy rounds with the MAC-10. It just didn't matter. It was Naf's world and we were just living in it. And once Naf started having impact on the T side, it was like the key for Liquid because everyone else started contributing. JKS with huge multi-kills all over the place. Twist, so incredibly clutch. Ultimate finding impact with the op. Yakindar entering like a motherfucker. It was crazy how different Liquid were to end this game. Like I said, they were down 6-9 at one point. Nice. I'm just being very honest with you guys. There are too many highlight rounds towards the end of this game for me to go over in a timely manner. This game was insane. Whether it was Twist with the Tech 9 in his hand on an eco to prevent Navi from getting match point, he just runs into B-side, gets 2 kills with the Tech 9, picks up the op, gets a 3rd. And it was crazy to watch Liquid battle it back, because that round that Twist gets with the eco, they're down 8-11. They have to try and fend off match point every single time. They bring all the way back to 11-11, both teams trying to reach match point first. Liquid manages to run down the clock into a very late mid to A push. Like, there's so little time left on the clock. They haven't gotten bit out of heaven yet. He could have gotten the planter, and that would have been round over, match point for Navi, but somehow they get it. Ultimate gets a great pick with the op, swaps to the AK, gets another pick in camera. Somehow Liquid locks it down and reaches a match point first, and now Navi are trying to force overtime, and they're broke. We go into the very next round, and once again, Liquid are playing super slow, trying to work out the map control. They don't want to give up anything to Navi for free. Almost 45 seconds of nothing happening before JKS takes a solo swing into Rugs, gets dropped by Wonderful. Navi managed to find the picks around the fringe. Nav gets super unlucky on a gap in the B smoke while lurking. He doesn't manage to find either kill that presented to him. And if he had gotten even one, that might have been the difference between Navi being able to hold the B side or not. Navi managed to grind it out, force overtime. And overtime, it's just crazy. Somehow Liquid managed to keep Navi to just 2 rounds in the overtime, which is, I keep using the word crazy a lot, but there was just so much happening in this game, it's hard for me to describe. On one of the rounds Liquid wins in their T-side overtime, Wonderful barely misses an op shot in B main that would have been the difference maker. Instead, he legs Twist, Yekindar gets the pick E-box, and then Liquid just collapse into the site. They nearly win it out with 5 alive. And on the very next round, Navi have a much better start. They get 2 picks towards A, take the early 3v5 lead, but for whatever reason, this Liquid team on this day were unable to lose so many rounds where they were down a man. Time and time again, Navi would have the man advantage and go on to lose the round, both here and on Inferno, which is just, you can't predict that. You can't strat for that. You can't work around that sometimes. Sometimes the other team is just better despite you running the correct play. And that's the frustrating part if you're a Navi player here. And consider all this Herculean effort, and this was just for Liquid to force a 3rd map. We still have Inferno. And Inferno would turn out to be another insane nail-biter. Just 2 days ago, Liquid defeated Navi on Inferno to win their first series in dramatic fashion. And now we find ourselves back here. Navi looking for redemption. Liquid looking for an insane cap to their start with this new lineup. And I think everyone thought that Navi would cruise through to victory when they shut Liquid down on their T-side effort, holding Liquid to just 3 rounds, only conceding the pistol and the time it took for Navi to build up their CT economy. Afterwards, Liquid could find no quarter anywhere on the map. Staring down the barrel of a Navi win, down a 9-3, Liquid switch sides, move to the CT side of Inferno, and mine nothing but gold. 8 straight round wins, 10 of the total 11 second half rounds going Liquid's way. The only thing stopping them from an unmitigated sweep of Navi was a 1v1 post plant between Wonderful and Ultimate, where Ultimate barely missed his op shot, allowing Wonderful to take one back for Navi. Other than that, Liquid were flawless. And leading the charge for Liquid in the cap to this first showing of this roster is the unknown Polish opper, the kid that nobody knew if he could hang at tier 1, who had never played at all above a tier 2 level in his career, his first time at a tier 1 LAN, and he has to play the world number 1 not once, but twice. And here on the closing map, Ultimate goes out onto a not op-friendly map whatsoever and finds 26 kills, 11 deaths, 104 ADR, a 1.66 rating, and insane impact on the second half of play. Him and Yekindar, who's looking so revitalized in this restructuring of Liquid, found insane impact holding the B site. Yekindar had a great round himself with 3 kills with the MP9, but the highlight of the second half is Ultimate on the B site, 4 op kills, unstoppable. Navi could do nothing to pressure this man. He looked so calm, so calculated, like he had been there before, not even phased at what he was doing to one of the very best teams in the world. Ice in his veins. I said it before, and I'll say it again. Ultimate still has a lot to prove, but man, there could not be a better eye test on the surface. His mechanics look that solid. And the round that caps it off to me, the round that had me jumping out of my seat and literally screaming at the top of my lungs. Navi find a gap, trying to fend off match point from Team Liquid. They manage to trade out Yakindar, going up banana. Naf flies on the retreat. He barely manages to escape through to the sandbags into church as Navi begins the push into B. And then there's the captain himself, Twist, flying through the CT smokes into water. If Alexi B literally had any other weapon in his hands other than a Glock, he finds Twist's kill here. But Twist dodges the pop flash, swings on Alexi, gets him before he's traded out, and right behind him, the goddamn Batman of Canadian CS. It's Nav Fly, cruising through the smoke like his name was Stewie, hitting an insane double kill, spraying with the M4, moving, spraying, crouching, looking like a portal back to vintage Get Right. His spray control was so good. And suddenly it goes from Navi having the bomb site nearly under control to Wonderful by himself with the op in his hands and a 1v3 that he can't overcome. What a crazy round from Liquid. And on the final round, Navi tried a last-ditch effort to take the A bomb site. Yakindar and Naf, they push down B, they pinch them into the apartments. It's all over. Liquid mount the incredible comeback again, stealing Inferno and a guaranteed spot in the fall finals from Navi. What an incredible game for this Liquid team. What an incredible game for Twist, who took a gamble on this roster. A gamble that I very much doubted. And so far, we are definitely in the honeymoon period. There's no doubt about that. There's no scouting report on Ultimate. No one knows what to think of JKS because he hasn't played till Sydney. No one knows what Twist is going to be able to do as an IGL. No one knew if Yakindar would recover his old form or not. But amongst all those uncertainties, Liquid look engaged, solid, and this is an incredible start to the new era of this team. Now the real test is going to be going forward when people know what to expect. They know what Ultimate can do. They know what to expect from Twist's playbook. It won't be until Cologne that we see this Liquid team really tested, but man, for right now, give them their flowers. They were incredible here and throughout this entire tournament. Oh man, another very long day of very entertaining games, and we're here. Tomorrow we have the final matches of the Blast Fall groups, and we're not slowing down. There's an insane amount of stuff coming up. The Cologne play-ins start next week. The NA Revival series is going on as I finish up this video. I want to really talk about some of those wrinkle games and some other games that happen throughout this tournament. So thank you guys for watching. As always, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Stick around for more amazing tournament coverage as we get into the new season. Shout out to Advanced GG, they power all of my videos. If you like their products and you make a purchase, use my code LIONS10 at checkout for 10% off. It lets them know that I sent you their way. Thank you to them once again. Shout out to my channel members, Justin, Jesse, Furley, Bubblesj, and Dr. Cocktor for keeping the lights on. I appreciate you guys immensely. If you want to become a channel member, check the link in the description down below. While you are down there, check me on Twitch, link down there as well. I stream Sunday through Friday at 8:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, so come on by and say hello. Oh my god, I am tired. I'm gonna go to bed. You guys have a wonderful evening, day, whatever it is. Peace.